Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Yeah, I know. They caught me and they robbed me, so I'm wearing this. Do you remember when the Russians were advancing in Bakhmut and the Americans, the Brits, the Ukrainians were saying Bakhmut has no, how do you call it, no strategic importance. Why are they attacking Bakhmut? There's nothing. And you had a little guru coming out, or rabbi, saying, hey, actually, they just do it because Russians like symbolism. Reznikov said, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian of Ukraine. And if you look at Reznikov, yes, he might be a rabbi. And he said, well, there's no need, but the Russians are just dumb and just die and they're stupid. That was the argument. And now we have this article again that actually tells us the truth. As I said, be patient, my friend, and patience is still a virtue by our civilization, if you remember that one. And this is what the Ukrainians are saying right now. They say that holding Bakhmut is a military necessity. Now, which one is it, my friends? Is non-important or unimportant, or it's a military necessity? They can't really be in the same boat here, because they are too focused on holding Bakhmut. Even if you remember, if you don't, I will remind you, because I'm a nice guy. Even Milley, that bottom feeder, that weasel, even that guy said, how about you guys, Ukrainians, focus on your counteroffensive maybe in the south, in Zaporozhye or something like that, or even lower, to try to get Crimea back instead of fighting so hard in Bakhmut. And the Ukrainians said, no, we just like Bakhmut. And now we find out that even the Ukrainians are coming and saying, hey, we're going to do it. What's interesting is, if you remember, there was only one person who was allowed to give us allowed. He was the one who was promoted as the, if you remember, in the 1984 dystopian novel by George Orwell. It was a guy that he was the one that needed to be hated. So the guy showed over there, it was the 5 minutes of hate. That's kind of like, but we have here 5 minutes of love instead of hate, and it was Zelensky-Stein. So Zelensky-Stein was the designated love sending messages or something, and he was showing up, and he was the only one who was talking. Then little by little they allowed other weasels to make the headlines, but Zelensky had like 99% of the airwaves and press and everything. Then they got Reznikov a little bit, and they got Zhmyhal almost never. Zhmyhal is a smart one, I tell you that. He's a smart one. Keep an eye on Zhmyhal. And then it was started with Zaluzny, the commander-in-chief of the Ukraine Armed Forces. They started allowing him to come over and say something. Then it was Danilov, then it was Ikhnat, then it was whatever, Kremenchuk, whatever their names. And anyway, more and more. But the military, it was only Zelensky-Stein, and then they got with Zaluzny. And right now you can see over here, Ukrainian general. Now, I don't know if it's Zaluzny or not, because I didn't read the article before I did this, because I don't do that, because I know what these guys are going to say. You just know them. So I know exactly what I'm going to say when I see what they're going to say. It's just, how should I put it? It's like having sex with a different partner, but the sex goes the same way. You're going to use, different things a little bit, but it's still sex. The same here. I'm going to use different kind of interpretation of a little bit of a detailed bullshit that these guys are giving us. And my goal is just to expose like this little BS that's over here now is a necessity, when it was, we don't understand why the Russians are fixated on the Bakhmut. And now they tell you why. So it's idiotic. And then you have, I want to point out that it's a Ukrainian general, and you also have, I saw some articles today and the day before, it says that Ukrainian military personnel or something like that are asking why don't or are skeptical about the Ukrainian counteroffensive. That would have never happened 3 months ago or 6 months ago and so on. And now they have access to the military, and military, remember that colonel that lost his job? He didn't lose his job, he was demoted because he said that his troops were, I made a video on that a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, and he said that we need trained military, we don't have anymore, they were killed, we have only, greenhorns, nothing. And then he was demoted, sent into a training department over there to train the weasels. And then he had balls and said, you know what, I'm not going to be disrespectful like this for telling the truth. So I'm going to, in his mind, right? And he resigned. So, again, and I said, well, he was not authorized. So, yeah, you're not authorized to tell the truth or your opinion. Yeah, I guess in the military, if it's an order, it's an order. But if it's an order, then we go again to the Nuremberg trials, and that's a no-no. When we had some Nazis saying that, hey, I just followed orders, clank. So how is it working here? It's an order, but they say, well, you should have used your morality, your values to, if you think that that order is not, this, and you disobey it, and then you get hanged. But it seems like here it doesn't work the same kind of, hey, I think this order is immoral, therefore I'm not going to follow it, I'm not going to do it. Well, it doesn't work the same way. That tells you how just they are. So let's see, this comes from Reuters. It's from the 27th of March 2023. Ukraine's ground forces commander said on Monday his troops were continuing to repel heavy Russian attacks on the eastern city of Bakhmut, and defending it was a military necessity. Necessity is like you die if you don't do it. That's a necessity. Otherwise, you are not allowed. You're not like food, air, and all that. Ukraine's military said Colonel General Oleksandr Syrsky. He was allowed to talk in about. He's been allowed since about a month ago. Before that, Syrsky not really. Had acted during a visit to the Eastern Front line to solve, and I'm quoting, problematic issues that prevent effective execution of combat tasks, end quote, and taken operational decisions aimed at strengthening our capabilities to deter and inflict damage on the enemy. It gave no details and did not say when the visit took place, but Syrsky's comments signaled Ukraine's intention to keep fighting in Bakhmut despite the heavy death toll there. And I'm quoting, the most intense phase of the battle for Bakhmut continues. The situation is constantly difficult. The enemy suffers significant losses in human resources, weapons and military equipment, but continues to conduct offensive actions, he said. So this is again, this guy is allowed to tell us this. Now it's a necessity, and eventually Bakhmut will fall because they're crying right now. The Ukrainians are crying, and for good reason. They say that they don't have ammunition and don't have weapons, so West cough up some weapons for us. And the West, it seems like they can't really do it because you don't do it fast, you do it slowly, and it takes time to fool the idiots. It's you don't want to scare them. Otherwise, they're going to realize that if you do the change fast, you're going to have little problems. The weasels might get up in the street and act like they usually act in these kind of circumstances, like you know how, breaking stuff, property burning, and so on. And you don't want to upset a weasel, that's for sure. So now it's a necessity. It used to be just I don't understand why. I always said Bakhmut is important because it opened the front to to reach the limit of Donetsk over there. And not only, but hey, they know best, and they're the good ones, and I am on the category of not so good ones. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.